Hello, hello, hello. It's Nicole with Equally Creative by Nicole. It's been a hot minute. I am so happy to be back. It's been a crazy summer, a crazy job change, and now a crazy back to school. So I am very excited to come on here tonight and share with you the subtles class that was supposed to happen back in like July, that didn't happen. So it has been sitting here on my table, ready and waiting, and I am ready to share it with you. So let me go ahead and I'm going to switch my camera down and give you a tiny sneak peek of the brand new mini catalog while I'm here. So this is the front cover. I cannot open it up until next month. And here is our back cover. So there are ways for you to get this in advance. I have some catalogs that should be here any day now. And if you are interested in a hard copy, just click the links below and let me know. So this is going to be some of the new product for the holidays. We always have our online exclusives available. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Choose Happy stamp set. It's this cute little stamp set with all these different words that you can mix and match, and these fun little, you can see how big they are, how little they are. These little elements here. So let's go ahead and get started. We are going to talk about the Subtles line of products tonight, the collection of colors that Stampin' Up put together that are Subtles. So this is the first card we're going to make. I love to start off with something super, super simple. So this one just has stamps, ink, paper, a tiny bit of embellishing, but again, super simple. So we have a standard card base, and this is in our petal pink. So we have our fabulous coordinating colors there, but we're also going to use our Calypso Coral. So sometimes you like to have a little dark and a little light, and the Calypso Coral is one of those darker subtles that are in the collection. So I did use some DSP from the Subtles collection, and I chose these two pieces. We have 3 by 4.5 inches, and I'm going to use the opposite sides today just to give you two different looks on the same card. And we're just going to kind of pivot each of these pieces, kind of like Ross did in Friends with his sofa, except we're not going to have to cut anything just to get it back home, right? So we're just going to put these two pieces of DSP on here. And again, we're pivoting them. I'm making sure that my corners don't go too far over the edges or they won't fit in the envelope. I'm just using regular old Stampin' Seal because there are no extra heavy duty elements on this card to worry about. And then again, pivoting that top layer to the right. And then I'm going to stamp our words, and I chose Happy Anniversary. Let's see. And these are the clear photopolymer, and obviously I'm having a hard time finding, there we go, my words. So I have happy. I'm just using an acrylic block to put that on there. And then I will find I'm going to make this one a birthday card. So I'm going to come over here and pull out birthday. I've got my ink ready to go. And each of these is just going to fit on my little strips of paper here. So I'm happy. And we'll do birthday. And since I did a smaller version here, I'm going to have this piece look a little bit different because both of my words are on the smaller side. So this is where your creative freedom kind of comes to play. So I have a little teeny tiny piece of coordinating ribbon here. I'm going to go ahead and staple that to the edge of my happy. Just like so. And then we will trim this at a diagonal. You could flag your ends. You could leave them square. Again, some creative freedom. And then I'm going to do a diagonal to the to the left here, so the opposite direction. And get that out of the way. And we're going to put these two pieces up on dimensionals. The dimensionals are our foam double-sided adhesive. And these are fabulous. I do color on the backs because it really helps me when I'm pulling all the backings off to know that I don't have any left on there. My disco ball here out of the way. All right, so now I'm just going to align these in a pleasing arrangement. So I just kind of stacked them a little offset. I'm going to do this one like so. And then I did add some embellishments. These are the rainbow adhesive backed embellishments, and many of these colors are in our subtle color family, color collection. So those are the ones I'm going to use today that match. So I'm going to come down here and use the Calypso Coral. This little pinkish corally color, and I am going to put my traditional 3 just like so. So that is our super simple Stamps, Ink, and Paper card. Now this is a part of a 4-class series. Class number 1 was re-aired last week. So you could see that. That is the Brights collection. Tonight is our Subtles collection. Next week will be our Regals, and then following that will be our Neutrals. So just in case you would like to catch a couple of the other classes and see what is available, those will be up in the next couple weeks. So that was the super simple card. The rest of my cards are going to use our embossing paste. I do add a layer of like saran wrap or some type of Ziploc bag over this just to help keep it moist and flexible. We do have some palette tools, and you can see just kind of, I don't know if gloppy is a good word to use, but it's just kind of this goopy, pasty. It reminds me of school paste from back in the day, except it doesn't smell at all like it. So this is our embossing paste. It is white, but you can tint it any color. So I'm going to do a little bit of both aspects for you and share how to use this embossing paste. So here is card number 2. You can see I've got some embossing paste smeared on here. So let's go ahead and share how that is done. All right, got some card layers here and some pieces and parts. All right, so we'll pull this aside. So the first way that you can add this on, I don't have a favorite tool necessarily. Pretty sure I use this one most of the time, but this one would work as well for this technique. And essentially I am just smearing it across the paper, giving it some texture and fun elements here. And it really works best when it's not super thick. So some of my layers are a tiny bit thick right in here, and those can crack as it dries. Which, since I have a ceiling fan on, I'm going to cover this up real quick. So here is how I created that first layer. So to me, this looks a little ocean-like actually. So I'm setting this aside because what I did do was kind of made one that's already dry. So you can use your heat emboss tool, or you can leave it out for a couple of hours and let it dry. If it's super thin, it'll dry pretty quickly. The thicker it is, the longer it will take to dry. You can see I had a thick spot right here. It kind of cracked, give it a little crackle look. This one does not seem to have too much of a crackle anywhere, just some little speckles here. So that layer is ready to go on our card. And I am going to use the happy birthday again. So let me clean those off. So this card is going to be done with our Lost Lagoon and Soft Sea Foam. So those are the two colors we're using for this one. They kind of complement each other. I really like them together. Let's see. So I've got some elements that I've already cut. These are the hexagon punch shapes. Okay. We're going to stamp on those, and then we're going to put some birthday candles on here. And then I punched out a couple of the bow punches just for some extra leafy elements. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the stamping. So my soft sea foam is this green color here. And let's make sure that's clean. Let me grab out the birthday candles. And what I did was I just repeated this stamp across that that layer. And I'm going to actually start in the middle, so I have a nice solid stamp here, and I'm just going to go out from each side, placing it kind of similar in each direction. Didn't do anything super scientific or mathematic here. Just wanted some birthday candles to go across. So we've got that layer. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach my candles with my layers here. But before I do that, let's do the birthday stamp with the flower real quick. So this one is really cute with the leaves. So I wanted to make sure that it shows as much as possible. So I'm putting it kind of towards the bottom side of that piece. And now we can do that birthday. Just like that. And then we'll do our happy over here. All right, so now we're ready to adhere all of our layers together. So, there we go. Did a tiny bit here, and I'm going to overlap. I think I'm going to do it like this. And then I'll add a little bit back here, and I'll overlap my happy this way. Okay, so this is ready. I'm going to add some dimensionals on here so that I can raise this up. And then I'm going to add some regular adhesive to this piece here. So this is our layer with our embossing paste. And take my backings off here. And then I put this on here first. And then I added those leaf elements. And the way I did that was I took some minis, or you can cut and snip your edges so that you can get the size that you need. But these worked really well on some of the bigger leaves, so I just made sure they're kind of hiding in there. Make sure this one doesn't peek out. Nope, that's pretty good. And this adhesive will hold these and give them dimension, but it will also allow them to stick in. I'm going to snip one in half so you can see how little you can get this. And you can add this to your flower pieces. I don't guess they have a right or wrong way, except that it's attached to my fingernails or my fingers, because I don't have much nail right now. Okay. And I promise you will not need more than this to hold these in place. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the bigger ones, and then I'll fill in with the smaller ones. And you're just going to kind of wiggle these in place until they are where you like them. And then you can press those leaves down. This one I'll just put right here. Okay. And I really liked this diagonal positioning, so I'm going to do that again. And then we'll add this last layer here. Just like that. And then again, I added some of our dots, and let's see, the rainbow dots, the rainbow adhesive back dots, because they are sticky on the back, which is fabulous. And I'm actually going to take one of these and put it in the center of the flower this time, because isn't that adorable? Oh, I'm losing touch over here. Sometimes the putty is too old and you got to get some new putty on there. All right, so I am attempting to stick that on the dry embossing paste. I think it's going to hold up okay. I do have some on embossing paste down here, and those held up pretty well, so we're going with it. I really loved that color, that contrast right there. Okay, so this was card number 2 using embossing paste with our happy birthday and the bow punch. Okay, but I'm definitely going to do this method and use our seaside, oh goodness, one of the ocean ones with the beautiful, oh here it is, Seaside Wishes. So I really want to do something like this with this background, because that really just looks like the ocean to me. So tell me what you think. If it looks like ocean to you or not. I would love to know. All right, so the next card is a little bit of everything. Okay. So here is our next card. So we've got a little bit of tinted embossing paste here. We've got some beautiful DSP, lots of our colored adhesive, rainbow adhesive back dots, little bit of ribbon, some stamping for the background, and a little bit of our DSP. So these colors are Bubble Bath and Highland Heather. So those are the 2 primary colors that I used here. I did use a little bit of a green marker. You can use whatever green markers you have if you want to color in your leaves. So let's go ahead and let me show you how I did that. So here is our square of Highland Heather, and we're going to go ahead and add our DSP directly onto that, and we will set that aside. I just centered that. We're going to go ahead and stamp our flower background, and we're going to put it in the top left and the bottom right corners. And we're going to use the Highland Heather for a nice contrast. Again, we want it to kind of peek out, so it does not have to be perfect, but we do want it to go to the edges above and below. I'd love to know, whoops, kind of messed that part up a little bit, almost. I'd love to know if you are a Halloween person. I know my friend Karen said it's one of her favorite holidays. Man, Mama can't talk today. So, I like Halloween, but not as much as I used to like it. I think I like sleep a lot more these days, and so that's what ends up coming into my brain with Halloween is staying up late in the dark, walking around. Um, Not really my favorite thing these days. Well, I shouldn't say that because I certainly get up early and walk around in the dark. So it's definitely that late aspect that throws me for a loop. I would rather do the mornings any day. All right. You know what? I put that flower away and I wasn't done with it. So I'm going to go ahead and add that flower to my circle that is punched out. I'm going to go ahead and just do like 3 of these. And this little oops right here is where the bow goes, just so you know. All right. I did not stamp it firmly enough. And then I colored these in. You can use whichever markers worked for you. Let's see what I have here. That is not the right color. This looks very peach. I did not pull my markers out ahead of time, so I will apologize for that. Here we go. So I did some bubble bath petals. And then we'll do some just miscellaneous green for those leaves. Ooh, I'm making a mess today. All right, so the first green I pulled out happens to be garden green. Again, you can use whatever green works for you. I'm coloring right over that center vein line on the leaf. It does not matter much. All of this is going to get a light layer of embossing paste on top of it that is tinted. So we're going to add a little bit of tint to those. I'm going to toss in some of last year's color here in color. What's it called? Wild Wheat. So now I'm going to take my embossing paste, and I actually brought my silicone mat out here for this. And before we put any on there, we're going to add just a tiny little bit to this silicone mat, and we're going to tint with a drop of the bubble bath color. And just a tiny little bit will tint this entire amount, so we don't want it to be too much. So we'll just tint this a little bit so it's a nice pastel pink. It's just going to offer a little bit of like a pink fluffy cloud on top of that circle. Okay, so now I'm just kind of scraping it off, and then I'm going to slide it across, and somehow I got green on here. Let's pull the green off of there. It's on my mat. I must not have cleaned that well. There's your next tip. Clean your mat well. Okay, so it's going to be super, super thin so that it dries well as well. Dries quickly, I should say. All right, so I'm going to hold this up so you can see what that looks like. You can see that it just gives it a little bit of a textured look. Let me see if I can turn it. I don't know. Cameras don't always show what they need to. And of course, I'm now wearing all of it. But it's just got this sheen across, and it works out really well on top there. So let's do this. This will all wash off very easily. So I actually brought a little water bottle out here to show you how easily. So this was dried from before. Let me move this out of the way. And I just have one of my microfiber cloths. You could use a paper towel or whatever you want. It just kind of rehydrates it and you can wipe it right off. So that's how quickly it cleans up off of the glass mat. And then let's go ahead and I will do this. And this. And if you're unsure, spray another layer, wipe it off again. It's pretty easy to clean up. Sometimes I go and I toss it in with the dishes on the very tippy top rack. We have one of those extra little racks at the top for utensils or whatnot, the tiny little things that get lost. So that was that. All right, so I did not make one of these ahead of time, so I'm going to show you how quickly this little piece will dry with the drying setting on our heat tool. It might be a tiny bit noisy, but not too bad. All right, so that is the low setting. I'm pretty sure you can still hear me talking over it. And this is just gonna dry this embossing paste even faster than sitting it out and waiting. If you're doing a lot of these at once, I would recommend doing them in batches and letting them dry for a period of time, and then again batching them all. So you can also heat the back of this to kind of smooth it out again. What I do like is this fancy little tool that comes with our heat embossing kit. It just helps hold everything flat. When the embossing paste is moist, it will curl your paper, but once it's dry, you can stick it down and it's not going to cause any damage. It's a little bit tacky in a couple of spots. I just want to give it an extra moment. All right, so the next piece I'll do is, while this is kind of, let it finish drying, let's stamp our Choose Happy. So I need these. Take birthday and put it back. It does have this fabulous little set of, the typeset is in the jacket of the stamp set, so you can put them back where they belong, right? Let's get Choose. And it also helps if you have put them all on blocks and scattered them all around your table to be able to find them again or know that you even have any missing. All right, so this one we're going to use actually a third color. So we're going to use Fresh Freesia to add a tiny little extra pop of color. So that's what our Choose Happy is going to be stamped in. And I just grabbed a scrap that I had left over, and I cut these in rectangles, so nothing super fancy this time. And you can either tie a bow, or I wrapped mine around and tied it in a knot. So there we go. And just be cautious that you don't pull this too tight or it will curl up your paper. And once I have my knot, I can slide this left or right. I can slide it around. I had that goof on this side, so I might cover that up. And then I can just come back in with my scissors and clean up those edges. So I do like the diagonal so I don't have the fray. And I'll show you what these are good for again. So sometimes you need to hold things in place and hold them in like a little weighted. So that's what they're really super helpful for, especially when you're trimming ribbons like this. Okay. All right, so that is our little flower piece here. And I'm not too worried about my little oops. So I like to be able to see all the flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate that ribbon just a tiny bit because I like it. All right, so let's add our layers here. So I did use some dimension behind here. I am layering my dimensionals on top of the ribbon just to keep it from slipping and sliding once I have this circle piece on. I'm just going to put this towards the bottom here. And then I'm going to playfully put my Choose Happy in the top left corner. This is one of those times where I feel like having minis is more helpful because I didn't need 2 full-size ones when these little minis will do. So that is why I keep both sizes. But again, you can trim the large ones down. You can use all your edges. So, Choose Happy. All right, let's see what I have in embellishments left. Oh, I lost them already. All right, so I'm going to add this layer. Cover you up again. It's a little lumpy on this side, so I got to give it a little help. There we go. And then I will place this, center it left and right, top and bottom. You can see our cute peekaboo flowers there. And now, as soon as I find my embellishments again, there we go, we will add some embellishments. Now, I used a lot of our fresh freesia, so I'm going to add a handful of our petal pink on here. Not petal pink. This is bubble bath. And I am going to start off. I just like to do some pleasing arrangements. There's no science to this part. I do like the trio, but I think I'm going to toss in some yellow centers because that was what I was going for with the wild wheat. And I'm going to throw a couple of these in up here. And one more right here. So here you go. So no science, just lots of dots. Okay, so here is that card. So you can see you can use whatever colors. I had one, this is one drop of ink. If you do not have re-inkers, you can simply squeeze your ink pad. Let's show you how I'm doing that. And it puts a little bit of ink in the top, and you could add a little bit of this into your embossing paste. Okay, I have one final card to share with you this evening, and it uses some masks. Don't quote me. I don't think we have any masks right now in our collection. However, you will get a mask in this class if you are purchasing. Just know that they're not all going to be the same. Okay. So I have some extra ones that I'm going to put in your class so that you can at least create something with it. And if you have some, obviously you can choose those. So I'm going to share what this mask looked like. And this one is all dry. And I'm going to show you how this one works. Okay. The key to this is to keep it kind of on the thin side and not too thick. So I'm just going to pick one of these fancy ones to put some on. And I like to use a little bit of the washi tape or a Post-it note, something along those lines to hold your layers in place. Now I could also put it down here so that I don't, if I wanted to keep my embossing paste design in one area, I would want to use some masking tape or paper or a Post-it note, something to kind of cover up the other designs that come in. So I could do that and add another layer, but I'm just going to be cautious. This is a sample, so it's not going to be perfect, but I'll share with you how I do it. Again, you can use any of these three tools that come together. This just happens to be the one I use the most. So I'm going to use a little tiny bit. I don't know if you can see. And then I'm just going to kind of smear this in. And I'm running this smooth edge over so that the paste is going into the indent in the mask. You can see that pretty well on camera. It looks pretty good. Because I have it kind of taped down, I shouldn't have too much of a disaster here. So that teeny tiny little bit has done this entire design with extra leftover. So I'm just scraping this away, making sure I don't have any other pieces that look like it's missing some. Okay. Just scrape that back into the container. And then I can take this off. Uh-oh, there we go. And then peel this back. And there is our design. And of course I can trim these sides. I could come back through while it's wet and wipe that off. So let's go ahead. I'm going to wipe off my mask. Super easy. Helpful if you have a clean surface to wipe it off on. And then I just do both sides to make sure when I go to put it down and do another one, it doesn't just automatically transfer. So, and then again, just kind of wiping this off with the water that was on here from earlier. Oops. And then I'm reapplying the embossing paste to the page. Okay. So I'm just going to set this aside so you can see what that looks like. And I'll pull that a little closer. So I am in love with this. It looks like a Christmas design. Again, you would want to use some masking paper or Post-it notes to make sure that if you need just one design, that's all you're getting. So that's what that looks like. That's going to be a really pretty element on a Christmas card. Look, I'm wearing embossing paste. So let's take that off. I feel like I'm talking very soft because I have had a very busy day. I'm a little sleepy girl, but I am enjoying sharing with you again because it has been so long and the cards just were not aligning to get back in gear fast enough. All right, so let me move these out of the way so we can actually work on the last card. So again, there are just some generic background ones as well as that fancy one that I just shared live. And here is the last card. Super fun. I really love the bird and the sailboat. So this is a fun fold card. And it just opens like this. Uh-oh, how come my phone switched positions? Give me 1 second. I don't know what happened. I didn't move my phone at all. Well, okay, I have no idea. There we go. I don't know how that happens when I didn't touch this at all. So if anyone knows technology better than myself, here I am, an open book, ready to learn. How on earth did that happen? So here is this fun fold card. Okay, so let's go ahead. I did prepare this so that it's nice and dry so I could put it together right away. This one has a lot of little pieces and parts. So let's take a look at what we have. So we have a card base scored at 5.5 and 2 3/4. And then we are going to, we're going to fold this back and then turn it over like this. Okay. So we have 3 layers for the back. So you have your card base and then you have our fresh freesia, or yeah, I think that's what I put on here. Yep, fresh freesia. We've got some DSP, which I actually did the bubble bath. I'm going to use the polka dot circle side. So let's add some adhesive. centering this layer. Okay. And then we also have this smaller white layer for the inside. And I didn't put a message in there, but you can put a message behind your magic flap in the front. Okay. This goes right on here. Okay, so we have these 3 layers, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere those to the inside of the card base. This will be centered. Okay, just like so. Okay, so now we're going to do something very similar in the front with this front layer. So I've got a piece of our fresh freesia. I keep forgetting names today. Some fresh freesia here. You can put it right on, or you can layer it like we did a moment ago. And I centered that from the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix it up, and I am putting the other side of the DSP down here. You don't see very much of it once you add that top layer, but it's a little fun to mix and match your DSP. We have A sides and B sides, just like albums, right? And before we add that, we're going to take care of the rest of this. So you can add another layer behind this if you feel it's necessary. I thought the cardstock stood pretty well on its own, so this is how that's going to go. So let's go ahead and work on these 2 little cute pieces. So I'm going to use Highland Heather and my Lost Lagoon. And I'm going to take out the bird and, oh, I forgot, in the sunshine. So we're going to grab out our lemon lolly for the sunshine. And let's see if I have some pieces ready to go. Flower back. Got the sunshine here. I have a bird and a sailboat. Grab another one of these. All right, so I did do a little bit of brushing with our blending brushes on these. So let's do sailboat. And we will be using a little bit of the balmy blue to do the brushing. Do a little bit of a sunshine in the corner here. Now I am stamping off without a piece of paper underneath here. So just have to make sure if you have one of these beautiful glass mats that you clean it when you stamp off. Otherwise you could possibly be reapplying color to your surface or your cards. Let's add our bird. Okay, so we have all of our pieces here. And now we will take our teeny tiny little blending brush, and I just did a tiny bit, so I am going to have to go off of here a little bit. You can barely see. I covered that up and did a little bit in here. Okay, nothing super fancy. And then I did a little bit more down at the bottom on the sailboat. And you can go over with multiple layers to get the darkness that you'd like. You can color in your sailboat if you want. It's really up to you. I am adding a little teeny tiny bit of like leftover ink. So it's super, super subtle up here by the sail. All right, last piece is going to be Summer Adventure. And again, we're going to use that Fresh Freesia color. And let me find those words. Oh, goodness. Sometimes when there's a lot of words, you spend a hot second looking for it. So usually I try to pull those out sooner, but I had so many I did not make it happen. So apologize for the hot minute off the camera here. And this should be easy to find because they're long words. Okay, so I found Adventure. There we go. And I found Summer. So a helpful tip is to pull this back. For me, it's helpful anyway. And find your word here, and then you can line it up and pull it off. But it still took me a second. There we go. So Summer Adventure is going to be a little bit like our playful Choose Happy that we did a moment ago. So we're going to snip this. Again, you can flag these ends, do it however you'd like. We're going to put these two guys on dimensionals. And we'll get these layers on, and then our sentiment is going to be a little bit of a mix on and off of these square elements. I don't know what to call them, these pictures, these images. So I'm going to lay these over and make sure. So I might even, I think I'm going to do them like this time. So I'm going to have a tiny bit of adhesive on the left for this one, and then a dimensional on the right, so that when I put this on, they will be level. Which is not a big deal if you're just handing someone a card. However, if you are putting this in the mail, sometimes that thickness or unevenness can get a little bit of damage in the process of scanning addresses and running through machines and whatnot. So the next part to this is adding your adhesive to this bottom piece only. You do want to make sure you put enough. And I know it's going to cover this whole area. You can see that little bit of shine. That is my 8 o'clock alarm. Tell me to start my bedtime routine. All right. So I am lining this up. I am going to inch that up. I want to make sure it covers that inside white panel when it is closed. So like that. And then I'm going to add in some fun dots here. Let's see. I'm going to do some bubble bath. I'm going to have to get some more of these because I have used a whole bunch of them making these fun cards. So I lost it. It fell off. I think I like it down here. Okay, card number 4. Our fun folds. Thanks. All right, so if you are joining me this evening, I would love for you to say hello. I did see some likes and some hearts. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Again, I'm Nicole with Equally Creative by Nicole, and I typically come here every Wednesday night at 7 Central Time, and I share with you a technique or a class of cards. And tonight was our Settles class, part of our 4-part color collection series, and I look forward to sharing the regals with you next week. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter if you're interested in learning more. I will see you all next week. Have a great rest of your week and a